So what we're seeing globally is an erosion of trust in markets, and people more than ever before are questioning the role of competitive markets and whether they're really delivering the best outcomes for consumers or not. Trust in Australian business has declined again for a consecutive year from 48% to 45%. Trust in Australian government has decreased from 37% to 35%. So we're seeing a crisis of confidence from the public really in these significant institutions that are established to really be delivering good products and services to the community and good outcomes to the community. Policymakers and regulators across the world are currently grappling with this issue and thinking about the ways that they can intervene to better support consumers get fair outcomes and to protect vulnerable customers. So it's within this context and environment that my colleague Ben and I decided to write the CPRC conceptual framework paper. It's really an exploration of the different disciplines and approaches taken to policy and regulatory intervention in overseas markets, but also locally, to deliver better outcomes and fair outcomes for consumers when it comes to product choice and engagement. So we've developed 5 key preconditions to effective consumer engagement across a range of different markets. Those are removal of barriers to access for vulnerable customers, the shift from information disclosure to comprehension testing, the comparison of products and services being simple and effective and accurate, switching costs being low, both financial and time and thinking costs, and awareness raising of the available information, tools and platforms that consumers can go to access and compare products and services.
So thinking about how consumers engage in markets, they need to be able to compare different products and services. Yet the research indicates they often can't effectively assess different offers because they don't understand key information about those products and services. They might not be able to find tools that have been developed to help them assess and compare, or they might not know how to use those tools. In preparing this report, we looked at a lot of different studies produced by academics around the world. Today we're going to talk to Rob Nicholls, Senior Lecturer at the UNSW Business School, about his research into switching and switching tools.
So why is an easy switching process so important for competition and consumer outcomes?
I think one of the problems, and it happens in this country and it happens in other countries, is that firstly, the incentive to switch. Normally you decide to switch when either something goes wrong or there's something new happening. And one of the issues then is, well, that doesn't happen to that many bank customers all of the time. So the number of people who are looking at switching is limited. But if you've ever tried to switch bank accounts, even if the bank that you want to switch to is really helpful, you've actually got to remember all of the standing orders that you might have or direct debits that you have. You've got to remember to tell your employer to start paying you into another bank. You might have your credit card that's actually linked to that bank. Your mortgage rate might go up if you switch away, so now I've got to move my current account and my mortgage account. All of these things just make it hard to switch. And what happens is that even people who are motivated to switch give up halfway through. And studies in the UK have found that roughly 75% of people who make the choice of switching give up because it's too hard.
And so what do you think are some of the opportunities to better enable consumers to switch providers?
Okay, I think they're twofold. Firstly, better comparison tools. So is it worth switching? Because it may well be that your current financial services provider is giving you the best deal. So being able to compare what you have now with what's the best offer from your current provider and what's the best offer available from others. The second one is making sure that it's easy to switch. It should be as easy to switch banks as it is to switch mobile phone providers. And that means some form of way of having portability of your account. Now, potentially the new payments platform is a mechanism for doing that. So if you can link your phone number, your mobile phone number or your email address to one bank account number, you could link it to the one of the bank that you're trying to move to, and that could facilitate switching.
What are
some of the key things that we need to make sure we get right when we talk about the establishment of a consumer data right?
Okay, so the consumer data right, firstly, there are some safeguards. If I'm going to do a comparison, I actually want to make sure that the data that I use for comparison, the data over which I have a right, is properly anonymised to do a comparison. That means setting standards as to what does the data look like in order to be able to be analysed by other providers. Very importantly associated with that, I really want to be sure that that anonymised data isn't re-identified, and maybe it's a bit far to criminalise conduct of re-identification, but to threaten it wouldn't be a bad start, so that actually taking data and trying to work out whose it was should be prohibited at least by code and regulation, but potentially even by making it a criminal offence to do that. Broadly, that data right is fundamentally based on the premise that actually the information about you should be yours. I really don't understand why there's anything controversial about this. So I should be able to download a blob of anonymised data from my financial services institution, upload it to, might be the same bank, might be a comparison platform, and find out what's the best deal today that I could move to, and if I want to make that move, to be able to do the switching really quickly. One of the things that I think is encouraging is that the idea that this data right should be managed by a regulator like the ACCC, and specifically the ACCC.
In practical terms, what are some of the sort of things that consumers would end up seeing through their day-to-day interactions with banks, or perhaps when they go to search for an energy provider?
Well, I think day-to-day interaction with banks, the Productivity Commission's draft report on the financial services sector finds that if you're a loyal bank customer, you pay more. So I think that actually just the potential for customers being able to switch will actually improve the offerings that they get. So I don't think if we have facilitated switching and comparison, if it turns out that the actual level of switching is low, as long as the outcomes for consumers have got better, I don't really care. It doesn't matter. It's a win. And we have to go for those wins. So I think it has the potential to see a shift. Similarly for energy providers, similarly for insurance providers, similarly for health insurance providers, that the potential for switching and the ease of comparison that comes from this data right, where it's my right, your right to our own data that we can use in order to make those comparisons is really positive.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you very much.